based on a true story doesn't mean everything in the story is true. What's up, everyone? Welcome to Ashley Talks Movies. Today I'm going to be doing a review of the new Clint Eastwood film, Richard Jewell. And the film is based on true life events. In fact, the film follows Richard Jewell, a security guard that was working at the Atlantic Olympics in 1996, and he was credited with saving thousands of lives because he discovered a backpack that contained a bomb. So right after he discovers the bomb, he's hailed as a hero in the media, and news outlets are following him, trying to get his story. But then soon after, literally days after all of this happens, the tide turns, and information is leaked out to the press that the FBI is actually looking at Jewell as one of its main suspects in the bombing. And so this film basically follows from when Richard Jewell finds the bomb to when he's hailed as a hero to also when the media turns against him and makes him out to be the villain. I will say I was interested in seeing this film because I really didn't remember Richard Jewell, the story of Richard Jewell. It happened in 1996. I was very young then. I think I was probably maybe in the first grade when that happened. I don't even know. So I vaguely remember the 1996 Olympics, and I vaguely remember something about the Centennial Park bombing, but I don't remember how everything played out in the news cycle. And so I was interested in seeing the film and seeing where it would take everything. And for the most part, I enjoyed this film. It's a pretty good film, and I think it's probably one of Clint Eastwood's best films in a really long time. Clint Eastwood, he's made some movies. He's made a lot of movies, but some of his movies I've really enjoyed, and some of them I thought were terrible, like really bad films. And so with this one, I think he's found a nice balance in that it has some problems, but for the most part, it's enjoyable and it's actually pretty good. There were some issues I had with the film. I'll get into those a little later because it's part of a larger problem, I think, with movies that are based on true stories. But anyway, let's just get straight to the review. I think what really, it's a very emotional film, and I think a lot of people will watch it and they will come away from it a little angered by what happened to Richard Jewell. And that's understandable because that's the whole point of the movie. The movie, it seems, was a story that Clint Eastwood definitely wanted to tell, and he wanted to use it, I guess, as a way to vindicate Richard Jewell, who was, in a lot of ways unfairly vilified by the media during this time. And so it's a very emotional movie, and people will watch it and be sort of mad, but also feel a lot of emotional, have emotional reaction to Richard Jewell. Most of that will come from the fact that the character is played so well by Paul Walter Hauser. He's able to do something with this character. I mean, it's a great performance, but he's able to do something with this character that really makes you want to root for him, even when he does something stupid, which is kind of frustrating throughout the film, because the character does things from time where you're like, oh, Richard, why? But Paul Walter Hauser is able to really make you feel sorry for Richard, for you to empathize and sympathize with Richard, for you to care about him and what happens to him. And so you really get invested in his story and seeing how everything plays out, mostly from the performance of Paul Walter Hauser. I think he does a really great job here. I don't know what his chances are in terms of award season because it's such a crowded field this year. But he does an amazing job, and he looks so much like, if you go back and you look at pictures of Richard Jewell, Paul Walter Hauser looks very much like, I mean, they did a great job with the casting in terms of how Richard Jewell looks. Kathy Bates is in this film as well. She does an amazing job as Richard Jewell's mother, which I think is worth noting because the movie's called Richard Jewell. The focus of the story is Richard Jewell, and what happens to him. But it also, focuses on a little bit on what happens to the people around him and how that affects, other people. So yeah, Richard Jewell was, sort of dragged through the media, but it also had an impact on his family, his mother, who, was very much part of this story too. And the media was following Richard, and they were monitoring the house, um, the apartment where he lived with his mother, and so she was affected by this as well. And Kathy Bates does such a great job with this character, and sort of, she's a minor character, but Kathy Bates, who's a fantastic actress, does something with this character where she really commands the screen every time she's on it, and she's not on the screen for very long periods of time when she's there, but when she is, you feel her presence, and you notice her, and you notice her emotions and how she's reacting to things that are happening around her. This movie is pretty slow and tedious to start. I mean, the first 15, 20 minutes, maybe even 30 minutes of this movie are just, it takes so long because I guess it's it's setting up everything, and so it just kind of slowly gets to it. But once Richard finds the bomb in Centennial Park, and once the bomb goes off, and once the media descends, right, and starts trying to tell his story, and then things start to go, everything gets really interesting. So if you've seen the trailer and you thought, oh, this trailer looks really intense, it's not until maybe 20, 25 minutes into the film where that part of the movie really starts to happen. So you have to kind of stick with it. Within that 20 minutes, Sam Rockwell's character. So Sam Rockwell is in this movie, and his character shows up like right at the beginning of the movie, but it's only for like a brief little interaction with Richard. And then he shows up much later in the film. And when he shows up much later in the film, basically when all the stuff starts to happen, this movie really, really shifts into gear, and it's very, very interesting. And Sam Rockwell is great. He is fantastic in this movie. And I think, if anything, as much as I'm praising Paul Walter Hauser for his performance as Richard Jewell, Sam Rockwell is really the standout performance, at least for me, in this movie, because he does something really, really great with his character. He plays Richard Jewell's lawyer, and he just I don't know how else to describe it, but he does something really, really interesting with this character, and he's sarcastic, and he's abrasive, and he's loud, and it's so good. His performance is great. John Hamm is in this movie as well, and he plays FBI agent. And Olivia Wilde's in this movie, and she plays Kathy Scruggs, who was the journalist with the Atlanta Journal-Constitution that broke the story that the FBI was actually looking at Jewell as a suspect. And this is where I have some problems with the film. So, okay, I know it's based on a true story, and I know Hollywood takes liberties with movies. They exaggerate certain things in a movie to make them more dramatic, and I totally get that. But the problem I have with this film is Olivia Wilde. I like Olivia Wilde, but her performance in this movie is really just terrible. And I think mostly it's because of just how terrible the character is. I don't know. I didn't follow anything about Kathy Scruggs. I don't know anything about her reputation, but the film suggests that she traded sex for information, and that's how she got the tip that the FBI was looking at Richard Jewell as a suspect. Now, whether or not that's true, I don't know, but I have a problem with that being included in the film, even if it's based on a true story film, when the entire film is making this argument that, putting information out there about people, especially information that could damage them, their reputation or damage their lives is harmful, and that you have a responsibility not to just, put information out there without verifying whether or not it's true or what impact it'll have on someone, right? So that's the whole message the film is trying to make while it's trying to vindicate Richard Jewell. And at the same time, it's literally putting out this information about this reporter who's dead, by the way. She's no longer around, so she can't defend herself. They put this information out there about this reporter, and people are going, oh well, it's just sort of that they take liberties with it. Okay, well, but if I can't be certain that she didn't sleep with an FBI agent or trade sex for information, then you can't be certain that she did, and so therefore it shouldn't even really be included in this film. And I feel like Olivia Wilde's character, Scruggs, is probably one of the weakest points in this movie. All the other characters, Richard Jewell, his mother, even Sam Rockwell's character, as the lawyer, are pretty well fleshed out. They're three-dimensional, and they're human, and you can empathize and sympathize with them, and you feel some emotion. And with Olivia Wilde's character, she's just this like caricature, and follows every trope that there ever is about female journalists out there. I mean, every time she walks into a room, she looks like she's hungover, she's slightly disheveled, she doesn't really seem to care about any of the people that she's writing about. She only cares about the story and making the front page and the recognition and the fame, which is the same thing that people accused Richard Jewell of being, when they thought he planted the bomb, and that he was this guy that just wanted to be this hero, and to get recognition for saving people, even when he was thought to be the one that actually planted the bomb. It's a mess. But beyond that, the movie's pretty good, and I think it does what it is intended to do, in that it's supposed to make people feel mad and angry about what happened to Richard Jewell. He is the victim here, right? And so the movie does a great job with that. The movie is shot beautifully. I mean, like I said before, I've seen quite a few of Clint Eastwood's films, and they're always sort of bleak and gray. And this one is a little bit more vibrant, and has a lot more energy. And you can tell that this was a story that Clint Eastwood really wanted to tell, and he really, really cared about, because it just seems like he took more time and care with it. So those are my thoughts on Richard Jewell. If you've seen the movie, let me know what you think in the comment section below. I'd be interested to hear what you think about the film. Please like and share this review, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button.